It is a Vibe Check Tuesday on the Ace Law listener line, 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. Let's get it going. What's your vibe on the Commanders after that on Sunday? / what other questions may you have about this here football team? Let's start off with Little. Little, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. Little, you're on the radio. All right, Anthony, let's see what's going on with Little. I'll go on to the next call, and we'll try to get back to it. Let's go to Andy. Andy, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, thanks. I love the show. I listen to it every day coming home. But
appreciate it.
I think the sentiment and the perspective that you provide with regards to your 1st and 10 with Hoffman, not with Hoffman, I'm sorry, with Howell, excuse me. It's spot on. And I go with the Q-tip mentality, quit taking it personally. Like, if we're going to give Sam Howell just a little bit of pushback here with regards to his play, but also, respectively, put it on everybody else, like the offensive line, the coaching, whatever. That's just a great way to lay it out there. And that's all I want to say. I really appreciate the entire perspective and the holistic approach that you have to his performance this weekend, because that really is what it is. And I thank you for taking my call. Love the show. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. That's very kind. I just try to do the job by telling you what I see. And I've been lucky enough to be around some really smart people and who's taught me how to see a lot of the right stuff. And I'm also a pretty gray area type of person when it comes to this stuff. Like, it's not black and white. It's just, that's not football. We were talking on Sunday, and Logan just goes, man, football is the consummate team game. And there are times where, like, another good example of this is the last play that they have offensively, which most people would categorize, and I would say in terms of like order of operations, I would also characterize as the Jahan drop. The biggest mistake that's made on that play, where Jahan drops the ball for what would have been a first down and possibly a touchdown to tie the game and send it to overtime, assuming that the extra point's not blocked, because they had a 27-yarder blocked earlier in the day, is on Jahan. Like, it's not a great ball, but it's a very catchable ball. You're an NFL wide receiver. You're a former first-round pick a year ago. Like, you're known for having great hands. Catch the bleeping ball. And you know what? I don't say that to be, like, hot takey. Like, if Jahan is talking amongst friends or to someone that he trusts, he's probably like, I got to catch the bleeping ball. Like, he used the exact same language. So I don't say that, like, pejoratively. That's Jahan's got to catch the freaking football. But there's a mistake in protection. I don't know whether that was a Sam mistake or whether that was a someone else mistake. But remember, that play starts with Sam having to spin out of a sack. But then, after he does that, he throws a bad ball. Like, it's not a good ball. And, by the way, if he can keep his head up and a little bit more composure, Logan Thomas is wide open in the end zone. It's not a bad decision by Sam to throw to Jahan. It's just not the best decision. And, like, those are the kinds of nuance that if you want to be right about the analysis of this sport, you have to understand there are levels. Another one earlier in the game, also to Jahan, where he throws it. It's a bad ball to where Jahan, it looks like he's covered. Really, though, there's a ton of space out in front of Jahan. If Sam throws a better ball, that's a completion to Dotson for a big first down against a blitz on a third down. It's not a bad decision. It's a bad ball. But it's also not the best decision because Terry's one-on-one and he beats the corner bad. And that's like their third corner. It's Terry one-on-one against the nickel. And so, and by the way, remember, Adoree Jackson's out of this game, so that's really like their fourth corner. So you have Terry on a good Terry matchup, and if you throw to Terry, it's probably a completion, and it also solves the, hey, Terry needs the ball more problem. So, like, these are compounding issues that all come into play. And I don't say that to be, like, muddy. It's just when you score 7 points, a lot of stuff went wrong. It's going to be muddy. Let's keep going let's go see if we got Little back. Little, thanks for holding. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, Hall, thank you for taking my call.
You got it.
I make a quick dip real quick. Hey, look, man, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So you telling me when Sam at the line of scrimmage, he don't know how to audible out of the situation when you see that blitz looking right at him?
So this is a tough question to answer because I don't know if he doesn't know how he does, or he doesn't have the freedom to, or like what level of freedom he has. I for sure know he doesn't have what Peyton Manning used to have, where Peyton could call basically the entire offense at the line of scrimmage with every protection, everything. I don't know whether Sam has like limited slides he can do, limited whatever, but it's pretty basic, the level of control that he has. Of course, like you need to properly, within the call that you have, identify the blitzers and things like that. So there are some things that are just like standard quarterbacking that he has to do at the line of scrimmage, and I think some of those things he didn't do it well in key spots on Sunday. But it's a good question that I don't have a clear answer to in terms of exactly what kind of audibles and freedom he has.
It's kind of confusing to me because if he was in the shotgun, he should have called an audible to a quarterback draw. He should have.
But I would guarantee you he doesn't have that freedom.
Right, but this is the kind of stuff I'm saying with this young quarterback. I don't think he's a quarterback for this team, to be honest, man. He got a strong arm, but he don't see the field good. And guess what he don't do? There's something I give Heineke credit. Heineke had more anticipation. You know, Heineken know how to sit, how to throw that ball into a spot where he think a receiver going to be there. That's something that if Heineken ain't got his arm strength like Hal.
Well, right, but Taylor was also in his 7th year in the league.
Right, but when he get that down, when he start anticipating a little bit better, Hal might be a good call. I don't think he's a quarterback for this team, to be honest, man, because guess what? That scenario you just say played out, you look for your big target when you're down there. He's supposed to be looking for Logan off the bat. Logan came clean, wide open.
Yeah, but he also these are like this is the nonsense that I don't want to get into. Like the first thing that happens on that play is he spins out of an immediate pressure sack, which again might have been his fault. I don't know what the protection situation was there. I actually want to go back. Anthony, if you can remind me, I want to go back and watch that from the end zone angle in the break. Just remind me on that one, and I'll have a note on it on the other side of the commercial. But, a more veteran quarterback might do that. But there are growing pains that you're willing to learn, or you're willing to grow with Sam, because he does have a great arm, and he does throw a really nice deep ball, and he does do some really special stuff that like Taylor Heineke can't do in his dreams. And all the stuff that Taylor does, Sam can learn how to do. Like you can learn to throw with more anticipation when you start to understand the rhythm and timing of an NFL offense at NFL speeds. He's still 8 games into his career. Don't forget, Peyton Manning set the NFL rookie record at the time for interceptions his first year. He was awful as a rookie, but the Colts lived with it because he was Peyton Manning. Now, I think the questions we need to start asking are, what of these problems are never going to change, are existential almost in nature and within the context of Sam? Like, I think some of the issues are caused by his height. I think some of the vision stuff is he doesn't see. I think some of the reasons that EB might not be going to the screen game as much as some of us want to is because Sam has trouble throwing the ball over a defensive end. Like, there's just realistic stuff. I mean, the pick, it took me 5 times watching it, but I think I'm finally been convinced that ball was tipped. If Sam's 2 inches taller, it's not tipped. Like, Leonard Williams gets a pretty standard hand up, and only because that is the maximum extension of Sam's arm does that ball get tipped. Every other quarterback in the league is able to throw that ball over Leonard Williams at the line of scrimmage. Or Dexter, I think it was Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence, not Leonard Williams on that particular one. But same thing. Like, that outstretched arm should not affect that throw. It did, because he's 5'11". And so there are certain issues that I have concerns about long term. But I think there is a lot of good stuff in there. I think another concern I have right now with Howell is that was the first time I felt like he was spooked. I wonder where his confidence is going into this week. I do feel like it's been on a bit of a downward turn since the Chicago game. So how does EB ultimately find the things to make him comfortable moving forward. And maybe that's putting more on his plate in certain situations. Like it's not putting more on his plate, but like giving him more tools. Let him call a QB draw in a certain situation. Let him have more audibles available. He's definitely a smart guy, but I think they had a lot of that stuff in during training camp, and it has not made it to the regular season, which tells us something about how it went in training camp and how comfortable Sam is with some of the motions and the shifts and some of the things you see in Kansas City that you do not see here in Washington. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, can you see this? Can you see this screen up here?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're gonna quickly run through this last play, and then we'll get back to the phones on a Vibe Check Tuesday. But like, I don't know if you just saw it. Watch Charles Leno before this play. I gotta let this run because Game Pass is brutal and doesn't let me do this by the thing. So 10 seconds worth. Look at right here. Charles Leno literally points at Isaiah Simmons. Is like, that dude is blitzing, and you let it run, and sure enough, here comes Isaiah Simmons. But I think Sam knows that because he fades. He's like, oh, here you come. And then he spins out of it. That's a catchable ball. Yeah. Not a great ball, but definitely catchable and also frustrating because, as mentioned, oh, my God. One, he could probably run, and he might get there and press this line of scrimmage more. But I understand he's trying to throw Jahan early. If you throw it there, also, if you just run that out a little bit, that guy's wide open. That's Logan Thomas. That would have been sweet. Alas, Jahan drops it. There's your ball game. So, again, it's a multi-thing play. Jahan, catch the football. Sam, a couple of things you could probably do to make it better. And they probably could have slid the protection or done something different. Like they could have kept Gibson in on that play. Like that's probably as a veteran quarterback might go, let me change the protection and put Gibson in. Hey, Antonio, slide over here. You got this blitzer over there. That's something that like Kirk used to do with Chris Thompson. Be like, yep, you got that guy. But Sam like knows it's coming or sees it coming and spins out of it, and then he tries to make a play and John drops it. Like that's a multifactorial. If any of those things go right, play. We're talking about potentially an overtime win for the Commanders and a lot of ugly football, but in a win. And it doesn't. None of them go right. And instead, we're here taking calls on a Vibe Check Tuesday where the vibes are terrible. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Carlos. Carlos, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, perfect. Hey, nice, great listening to you, man. Listen, man, this offense needs to get it right. Offense needs to get it right. Sam Howell needs to get it right. Eric, the enemy, needs to get him right. Stop dropping the poor kid back. Place him under center. Get the running back. Man, this week I dropped Jahan Dotson out of my fantasy. I dropped Antonio Gibson out of my fantasy. It's like I can't trust this offense anymore. And you know what's sad about this whole entire team? When this first schedule came out, I looked at that Thanksgiving game against Dallas. I need that game to mean something because the more games we lose, what am I going to be happy about?
Your family, so like, Carlos. Come on, it's Thanksgiving.
I understand that. Sports-wise, like, what am I going to be happy about? I'm going to smoke a turkey for the whole entire family just so I can watch my team lose. I'm blessed, thankful for my family. But the Caps aren't doing good. I'm actually on my way to the game right now. So, I can't cheer for them happily as I used to. The era is ending. So, you know what? I'm so glad that Magic Johnson is very vocal about this team. And I know he's whispering, maybe yelling at Josh Harris's ear. We need to do something. And then let me ask you a question when I end this, okay?
Yeah. What's up, Carlos?
That Ron Rivera, how Ron Rivera is, when his back is really up against the wall, because he sounded like his back was up against the wall in that press conference yesterday. Mm-hmm. Will it surprise you if we come out and beat the Eagles tomorrow? This upcoming weekend.
Not at all.
Take my call, man.
Yeah, no, Carlos, I appreciate the call. It's a good question to end it with. I was texting with someone on the beat before the show, and we said this out loud with Mike Jones last week. The most Ron Rivera thing ever to happen in the 4 years would be for them to lose to the Giants and then beat the Eagles. Like, that's how he's been. But that doesn't make you good. It makes you even more frustrating because it shows that you're capable, but you're incapable of doing it week in, week out. Like Kime was talking about on his podcast how the messaging needs to be different this week. They need something to shake them, something to wake them up, whether they make a change and, like, do they play Tyler Larson or Ricky Stromberg at center because Gates was so bad? You know, you might have a change at left guard because of injury. Sadiq Charles has the strained calf. We'll see what they do there. But, like, it can't just be, like, to me, if Ron comes out and is a different guy this week at practice and I'm a player, I'm like, where have you been? You were Mr. Eric's in charge all summer long, and all of a sudden that we've been embarrassed twice in 3 weeks, it's time for you to come back and take over now? Like, no, man, if you're good at this, why haven't you been involved? Like, that's my frustration with Rivera in a lot of ways. It's like he can pull it out of his hat sometimes. And what happened in Carolina was every time his back was against the wall, he'd pull it out and he'd save it. And a couple weeks later, and then all of a sudden they would fall off a cliff again. But by that point, it's later in the season. And you're convinced that maybe next year they can do it for the whole thing. And after a year and a half of that, David Tepper was like, I'm good on that. Get out of here. And then Tepper did a bunch of other dumb stuff to make sure that franchise didn't recover, mainly hiring Matt Rule. But with Ron, would it surprise me this weekend? No. Not at all. And by the way, it also is why I'm so surprised. I know this is backtracking a little bit, Anthony, into the game itself. But, like, do you know how the Riverboat Ron thing started?
Like how he got his name?
Yeah.
I don't
remember what year it was. It might have been 2014, the year before they went nuts and went 15-1. But Ron was on the super hot seat. Like, if you lose this game, you're getting fired. And Ron was getting killed in the press because he was so anti-analytics. He was so, like, in terms of his decision-making, he never went for it on fourth down. And basically, as a bleep you to everyone, is at least what it felt like, he started just, like, being the most aggressive coach. Like, I'm going to go for it on every fourth down. Like, whatever. Screw field goals. I hate my kicker. Like, I just tried everything. And Riverboat Ron was born, and it worked. And next thing you know, he's on a run. Like, and Cam's playing better, and like everything's functioning better. But, like, it almost seemed like it was born out of a bleep you to the people that were criticizing him. And he was like, fine, I'll do it your way. See if it works. Oh, it works. And then with his back against the wall on Sunday, 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, a 4th and 3 at their own 9, or not at your own 9, at the opponent's 9, you kick it, and it winds up getting blocked, which makes it even worse, but, like, you kick it? It's weird, man, because normally when his back's against the wall, like, that's when he kind of throws caution to the wind. He didn't. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Paul in D.C. Paul, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
All right, thanks, man. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Appreciate it.
And I'm glad that it's today because when I talk now, I think about the players, the coaches, and all those things like that. But I want to talk about the ownership, my man, because you know they inherited a traumatized fan base, you know,
yeah.
And we're going through what we're going through, like watching this over and over and over again, and this guy hasn't said anything. My problem is that open up your freaking mouth, Mr. Harris, okay? Because other than that, I'm one of them guys, man. I don't hang on to no love affair too long if it ain't working right for me. Say something to me. Say we're going to get better. Say anything besides nothing, you know? And listening to Ron talk, man, before I hang up, listen to Ron talk. If we're going to be getting what we're getting from him, the tone and everything that he's talking about for the next 10 games, why the hell do we have to go through this as a fan base? This is why we held up the flag, put parades on and everything for this Josh Harris guy. Magic said one thing, and I don't know if they put a gag rule on Magic or what, but I'm telling you right now, man, I like somebody to talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what's going on. Other than that, man, I'm telling you something right now. I'm not one of those moral guys that go jump on another team. I am a Redskins/Commander fan. I've been that way for over 60 years right now. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't have time for this crap that Harris is doing, my man.
So,
okay?
Paul, I hear you, and I totally understand your frustration. I don't know, like, what is it that you want him to come out and do, though? Is like trash the guy that he's
I don't
coaching
know.
his team?
I don't know. That's one reason why I really can't put it in words what I'm expecting for him to do. But the feeling I want to get out of this relationship is that we're in the same boat. I'm as frustrated as you are. We're going to try to get things better. God dang it, I'm listening to more announcers telling me what's going on than I do the new ownership that we got, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly I'm looking for him to say in words, but daggone it, say something, Mr. Hoffman, you know?
I hear you, Paul. So I'm going to let you do the hang up and listen bit, but that's a great first call. Please call back anytime. Here's what I would do if I was Josh Harris. And I'm just going to say what I would do. I would leak to the press. I would find, and whether it's a John Keim, whether it's an Adam Schefter, whether it's whoever that I decide, Nikki at the Post, you know, pick your person and you say, this is completely on background. If you ever tell anyone that I said this, then like we're going to have a problem. But this dude's dead at the end of the year. This dude being Ron. Like we're not keeping him. I need that out there. Like sources close to Josh say this, that Ron Rivera is a dead man walking, that he is a lame duck, and that the only reason he's not getting fired right now is because the candidates that we want to replace him won't be available until the offseason. That's what I would do if I was Josh Harris, to try to placate the fan base. And I know that that's not going to be foolproof, because a lot of fans, for whatever reason, this is a larger discussion about society, are distrustful of reporters and the words sources say and whatever. Josh Harris cannot come out on the record and trash Ron Rivera, because that is the current head coach of his football team. If you do that, you might as well fire him. And I'm going to be really blunt. With what we've seen from EB the last couple of weeks, I don't want him being the interim head coach. Like, EB is clearly struggling to handle the offensive side of the football and like in a way that is predictable. He's a first-time play caller. It's 8 games with a new quarterback. Like, there are growing pains that come with being new. And adding more to Eric's plate is a bad idea. So if it's not going to be Eric, which if it's not Eric, then you also open up a can of worms, because you gave him the assistant head coach title at the beginning of the year. I guess Ron did that, and you could always be like, look, Ron did that. Ron's not in charge anymore. Eric's going to stay the assistant, and we're going to elevate Jack because he's been a head coach before. I know none of you want Jack to be the head coach either. But like, the problem is they don't have a good current option. And what I would tell Paul is, and anyone who feels that way, is I 1,000,000,000% get your frustration. I keep looking, Anthony, you can verify this as the producer who is on the receiving end of these thoughts in commercial breaks, via text message or meetings or whatever. I'm terrified of the next 10 weeks of football, because they have off-season problems that can't get fixed until the off-season. I know that now, and I got to try to do shows every single day. And I know a lot of you, while it may not be your job like it is mine, care deeply, and it affects like your emotional well-being every single day when this team stinks. But the solutions aren't going to come until February, January, whenever it is they can get rid of the GM, get rid of the coach, get rid of the players that they don't want to be here, and truly start this reset. And kind of what the Wizards are doing, and being like, look, we're building for the future. Hopefully it's going to be a quick turnaround, because there is some talent here. Maybe Sam continues to develop, and like that's a good thing, and you get a coach that maybe fits him a little bit better if you don't think that EB is the guy. Like, that's all stuff we're going to talk about later. But the ownership can't come out on the record and kill the coach. They could do it off the record / behind the scenes and make sure that gets out and that everybody knows. But they can't even, like, the thing I would love for them to do is hire a president of football operations, but whoever they'd want to hire, unless that person's taking a hiatus year, isn't available either. So it's just, they're in a bad spot. And that's so unsatisfying, and it's so unsatisfactory, and it's why the vibes are right now on this Vibe Check Tuesday. But the reality is that we're kind of stuck. I get your frustration. I just don't know that there's a way to resolve it right now. Perhaps a massage. Perhaps going for a nice jog in the outdoors. Something to get your head out of Commander's Land for a hot second. We watch The Voice at night. That's what we do in the Hoffman household. It's a delightful show where people sing and famous people coach them. So maybe check that out. And if NBC wants to send me a check, they can. I'm not endorsing your show for free anymore. All right, let's go to Mark, and then we got Peter. We got a couple more calls as well. So, Mark, go ahead and get us started here on this last segment of Vibe Check Tuesday.
Yeah, what I don't really understand with this fan base, they act like Sam Howell was a first-round draft pick, a second-round draft pick, a third-round, fourth round. There's a reason why he went in the fifth round. The knock on him in North Carolina was he holds the ball too much. And for the most part, the game pretty much when it's expected, you knew Wink Martindale was going to sick the dogs out on Sam Howell. He threw up all himself, and they're going to lose the game. I mean, it was unpredictable. That's why I was able to make a little bit of profit off the game. The only reason that Sam Howell's – the only reason Sam Howell's right now starting for the game, starting for the Commanders is that Ron realized what he did. He lost his job when new ownership took him in Carolina. So he's smarter now, so he knows what he needs to do to keep his job. So he presented to the group, hey, I got this young franchise quarterback. I'm coaching him up. I need about 3 or 4 years, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that Sam Howell and Ron Rivera are going to be out the league. Sam Howell's going to be out the NFL next year, and Ron Rivera's going to be out the league as well. Both of them going to be out the league there.
All right, Mark.
A quick question, though.
Yeah.
One quick question.
What's up?
What do you think the Commanders' record would be right now if Brissett was the starting quarterback?
Roughly the same. I think it would be probably maybe a game better, 4-3. Like, I don't think most of these games are any different. I think they probably beat the Giants with Brissett. But there's also other games where Sam, like, I don't know if Brissett wins that Denver game. Like, Sam cooked in that game. That was crazy. I mean, how hot he got in the first half against Atlanta. Like, Sam's won them games this year. And to say that he's going to be out of the league, I think is ridiculous. In part because I could see Sam being a long-term backup type that bounces around the league and plays for 8 different teams. I could also see him working through some of this stuff and becoming a starter. Like, he's so intriguing because he's dumb talented. His arm is great. He's got so much moxie, his mobility. Like, there's a lot of stuff Sam Howell does well. It's got to be put in the right box, and I don't think that they have figured that out yet. And I think what's concerning is it doesn't seem to be getting any better week by week. Let's go to Miles. Miles, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show on this Vibe Check Tuesday.
Hey, what's going on, Craig, man? I just want to start with honestly, I don't think Jack has really got enough flack for his defense. Like, we want to talk about us being a top defense maybe the past couple of years or prior. I feel like a lot of that honestly was held up by the run game. And even this past year, like, I feel like a lot of their decisions were just terrible. Like, in the draft, like, I mean, you know, hindsight is 20/20 or whatever, but, you know, having Quan and Emmanuel Forbes both benched as your first and second round pick is malpractice. Like, I don't see anything, and, like, I feel like they should give him another chance. He needs to get back on the field in some way or fashion because I don't see Benjamin St-Juste doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to tell you straight up, Miles, if you didn't think Benjamin St-Juste did anything on Sunday outside of those 2 explosive plays, like, you didn't watch very much. Benjamin St-Juste was awesome on Sunday.
Definitely, he has the capabilities to, you know, get a couple of pass deflects and a couple of, breakups or whatever, but I just feel like his upside is only so high. I feel like the takeaway he got against the Falcons, I mean, Ritter gives away the ball. It showed last Sunday too.
But Benjamin's a good corner, and Logan thinks he was incredible on Sunday. I don't know if I'm willing to go there because he did give up 2 explosives. One of them is kind of just a ridiculous throw and catch. I mean, he's right there on the first one to Hyatt. The second one, he gets beat on the double move. And he still makes it difficult enough that Hyatt almost steps out of bounds. But he was targeted 12 times on Sunday. And you gave up 2 big ones. Everything else is you're driving on routes. And let's put it this way. PFF murders corners and DBs for giving up explosive plays. Benjamin St-Juste gave up 2, and he still had an 89 coverage grade on Sunday. So, yes, the way they've used draft capital in general is very, very silly to me. I'll even go as far as to say it. It's stupid. Like, they've doubled up at a bunch of positions when they have weaknesses in other places, a.k.a. draft an O-lineman that you're actually going to play early. Please, for the love of all things holy, like, just what's so hard about getting studs up front? But at the same time, like, this defense has been pretty good 2 weeks in a row. They were better, like, they were really good on Sunday outside of 2 drives. And that's like, if you do that in the NFL, you're going to be good enough to win most weekends. And this is what they've done every year. Is the first 5 games, they're awful, and then they round into form. And I don't, like, that's not good enough for me. I would have gotten rid of Del Rio last offseason based off of that 3 years running. You can't figure out how to get under 30 points a game against average in the first 5 games. And you wound up doing it a fourth year in a row. But he's pushed them then into top 5 range for the back half of every one of those seasons, between 5 and 10 in the league for the remaining 12 or 11 games, depending on which season you're talking about when they went to the 17-game schedule. So at the end of the day, man, like, barking about the defense this particular week, I think is a bit of a fool's errand, but there certainly are things about that defense that I think that they've done poorly. I think a lot of them are more in the front office than the coordinator's booth, but there's certainly some. It's taken a very long time to find something that's worked for this group. They seem to have found some more coverage structures that everyone feels a little better about. Hopefully that can continue, and hopefully Forbes can play that stuff and he can get back on the field. All right, that is Vibe Check Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.